He should not like me. I don't know why he does, but he should not like me.
Nobody else does.
No. He's just too much of a guy's guy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's a guy's guy, and there's something wrong with him that he likes me, because he's the kind of guy that probably would have beaten me up on the playground as a kid.
Would have.
Yeah,
it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, you're saying. Oh, I thought you were saying you were taking the probably would have beaten you up.
Oh, no, it could still happen.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah. You're so supportive.
Thank you.
You're so supportive.
For you.
But I expect that from somebody as fat as you are. I miss Stu. Stu is, so you know, Stu has been gone for last few days because his father passed away. Or so he'll have us believe. It may be that he just didn't want to go on some trip that he thought was dangerous. Mm-hmm. But his father passed away, and we would ask for your prayers for him and his family. Stu is an incredibly private individual. He is the exact opposite of
you.
me.
Yes, he is.
He really is.
Yeah.
I'll come up to a complete stranger and say, hey, you know what? And we'll just start talking about everything. Stu, we've all known for years, 20 years. Don't know that much about him. Really, don't know. He could be a spy. He could be an ISIS plant. He may be over in Syria right now.
He does not like to talk about personal things.
At all.
Nope. Especially if it's something of an emotional nature.
Yeah.
He doesn't get into it. So
yeah. You'll be like, you know.
We're guessing most of what's happened here. We don't even.
Seriously.
barely even know.
This is the conversation that I had with Stu at the airport. So awkward. Hey, Stu. How you doing? Pretty good. Pretty good. Good. I'm sorry to hear that things aren't going well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I brought a suit. That was him saying, my dad is so sick, I think.
Yeah, there might be a service.
He just said, I'm bringing a suit.
So he doesn't wear suits.
Right.
Unless there's something
somebody
quite out of the ordinary. Yes. So.
And that's all he said to me is, I'm bringing a suit. And I said, I understand. Well, we'll pray for you. Hey, I got to go. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. And that's a lot for Stu.
Mm-hmm.
So we just love him.
Pray for healing and comfort. And
yeah. He said he's really one of the best guys that we know. But again, when I think of him sitting there and Jeffy is behind him. So it's really, I can't really vouch for Stu. It's just that Jeff is such a bad person that anybody standing next to him or in front of him looks so good.
Yeah, and he's the one that usually reminds us what a bad person Jeffy is. And so we
miss him. I've missed him a lot. I've missed him a lot.
Yeah.
He's coming back. Is he coming back Monday?
I don't know. Stu being Stu, we don't know.
Right.
But I think maybe
I did say to him, I said, you take all the time you need. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Whatever time you need.
Oh.
I am kind of regretting that because he might come back in like 2017 and say, wait a minute, you cut my paycheck off. And I'm like, Stu, we hadn't heard from you in 3 years. You said take all the time I need. So we're not.
That is kind of an open.
It is.
It's, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things that I would ask you to be responsible. Stu will just, when Stu comes back to work, he will just come back to work and nobody will say anything about it because he won't. He'll just, all of a sudden, he'll just be back and we'll all be like, hey, Stu.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good.
Good.
All right, good. All right.
Okay, what are we doing on today's show? Is he the most private person you know?
By far.
Oh, yeah.
By far. Mm-hmm.
It's so weird.
I mean, at one time you thought that was me. He makes me look like you.
I just meet you and I'd be like, you want to see my scar where I got my appendix out?
No.
Oh, golly. All right. Profoundly disconnected. Mike Rowe. He's got a new TV show on CNN, starts October 8th, called Somebody's Got to Do It. And I'm not singing the stupid song.
I'm not going to ask you that.
Pat's going to sing it. Pat said this morning he came in and he's like, I'm going to sing the song. I brought a guitar and I'm ready to sing the song.
I did not say that.
And that's what he said. That's what I heard.
That is not what happened.
That's what I heard. So how are you doing, Mike?
I am still bipedal, upright.
Yeah.
Fog in a mirror.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Glad to hear it. Love
Great.
your I've been reading your posts on Facebook and I just love it, man. I just love it. Seeing people calling, writing in and asking, questions about, please tell me you're not living the high life. And, you're really not, you're strangely not at all. You're living in the same house that you've always lived in.
Little apartment in San Francisco. It's simple.
Macaroni and cheese,
Sure.
Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Sure.
What is it that makes you tick? What is it that?
Well, I mean, look, I had a very specific worldview work-wise from about 1989 to 2001, whereby I worked in the entertainment industry, and because I had been fired several times from QVC and did a 3-year, crucible, March to Bataan internship there,
Was not pleasant. I take it.
You know what?
But other than that, how was your time at the Home Shopping Network?
It was maybe the best learning experience I ever had for a guy who wanted to freelance in TV.
But isn't that the way it always is?
Sure.
Isn't your death march always the biggest and best? Seriously, that's when you learn. That's when Viktor Frankl became Viktor Frankl.
But not till he looked back on it and said, "Hey, you know what?
Right,
Yeah.
I actually learned something there."
Yeah.
While you're in it.
Where you're in it,
It's
that great.
Yeah, it sucks.
So, I mean, basically, I worked moving place to place. I loved the freelance life, and it worked well for me in an industry where most people were looking for home runs. I was looking for stand-up doubles and singles.
Can I ask you a question? How did you go? Do a little, just riff a little opera here.
A little opera?
Yeah.
Vecchia si marra senti, il resto al pianto, scende re sacri a monti o devi, le me grazia ricevi.
Okay, so how do you go from? How do you go from that to?
Wow.
I'm crawling around in somebody else's poop.
Well, I worked my way up to it. No, I mean, for me, what happened was I couldn't get. Now that was 1984. And I wanted to be in TV somehow. I wanted to act somehow.
And
but
you thought opera?
No.
Opera would be the way to...
Well, I was living in Baltimore, which is a weird town vis-a-vis the unions, right? So like SAG and AFTRA, which I'm sure you're familiar with, they were very closed
Happily,
up.
no.
Well, welcome to Texas.
That's right.
Maryland, not so much. I needed both of those cards to work in my chosen field, and I couldn't get those cards unless I did union work, but I couldn't do union work without those cards. Classic catch-22. There's always a loophole, and this one was another guild called AGMA, which is the American Guild of Musical Artists. If you can get yourself into any of the aforementioned acronyms, you can buy your membership into any of the sister unions. For me...
That's insane.
For me, it became simpler to learn an aria and try and schmooty boot my way into the opera union than it was to check the want ads for, openings in TV. So that's what I did. I learned the shortest aria I could find, Puccini, La Bohème, the Cote aria. I walked around for a month with my Walkman on, singing it, which I looked like an insane person walking the streets of Baltimore.
Would we do it?
No, I just sang the first 2 bars of it.
I don't know it.
That was it.
I don't know.
But it's one of the shortest ones I could find. And I auditioned, and the guy said, "You have no idea at all what you're doing, do you?" And I said, "No, none." And he goes, "Well, you have a rich, well-modulated baritone. We'll dress you up like a pirate." I got in the opera. I got my card. I figured I'd buy my other cards, but the truth is the music was a lot better than I thought it would be. And the rep company was a fascinating little microcosm of men and women. 45 women, 35 men. 30 of the men had zero interest in 100% of the women. The remaining 5 men, of the remaining 5, 3 were married, and the other one was my buddy Rick, and he had a mole on his eyelid the size of your thumb with thick black hair growing out of it. So basically,
so you were popular.
I'm 22, I'm single, I'm dressed like a pirate, and I'm singing Vivaldi. Okay. It is 1984. I stayed 7 years. 7 years in the opera.
That's a good gig.
Yeah.
So 45 women pretty much to yourself then.
Look, I don't, they were dressed appropriately as well. So, I mean, it took 7 years, but,
you were a pirate,
time,
they were wenches.
Yeah, occasionally you're a Viking.
Happens.
Look, we're all adults
What
here.
happens in Baltimore stays in
Baltimore. Usually with the rats.
Usually with the rats. But look, way leads on to way, right? And how does that get to the sewer? I mean, that's a really long story, and you don't want to hear all of it, but...
So,
but you were in Baltimore for 7 years, so from 84 to 91?
I grew up in Baltimore, and I stayed there.
We were
there
we were there for part
we
of that
didn't
time.
catch your opera stuff, because
No, we
Pat and I
didn't.
were there for 2 years.
It was fairly low profile.
Yeah, that wasn't part of the when we were sold the job there. They didn't say, and Mike Rose on stage dressed as a pirate.
We never heard that.
Never heard that.
So,
So now you're doing a show at CNN.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
So, flashing forward 15, 20 years, Dirty Jobs is a thing, right? It gets completely out of control, and it becomes an international thing. And we did 300 of them, and there was I didn't know what else to do anymore.
How much you pulling down a year off of that?
Literally hundreds of dollars.
Literally hundreds of dollars?
I mean, if I were to stack it all here, Glenn,
did you own part of that?
No, I sold the idea. Here's the crazy thing.
That's a stupid thing.
Yeah, I didn't say I was bright. I said I was charming.
Yeah.
I'm not bright.
Wow.
Dirty Jobs happened because I'm in this freelance mentality. It's after the opera. It's after home shopping. It's after 10 years of doing 1,000 jobs, 6 months on, 6 months off a year. I've got it all figured out, right? I'm Travis McGee from John D. McDonald's. Great series. I'm taking my retirement in advance. I don't care about the job. I care about the amount of free time I have. Dirty Jobs happens because my granddad gets sick, and he's a guy who built my house without a blueprint, the one I was born in, and he'd never seen anything on TV that looked like work. So I said, before you die, it would be great if I did something that you would at least recognize as vocational. That's what started Dirty Jobs. It was supposed to be 3 one-hour specials. 10,000 letters later, after the first airing, I realized that everybody had a story about work. The network realized it too. A new show was born, a new franchise was launched, and a new genre eventually evolved in cable TV about people who work. I don't want the blame or the credit for any of that, but I was proud of my show. And we did it like a good scout for 9 years. We did 300. We shot in every state. When we were done, my partner, Mary, and I, we looked at each other and we were like, so now what? I'm like, well, look, we ran out of dirt and we ran out of jobs, but we didn't run out of people. And we met a lot of people during Dirty Jobs who I would have loved to have put on TV, but they simply weren't disgusting enough. So we kind of circled back and said, what about the inventors? What about the entrepreneurs? What about the bloody do-gooders? What about these people who wake up every morning, not unlike some of the people sitting at this table right now, who are a little agitated that the world's not quite right the way they want it? You know, what about these people? The guy who built Stonehenge in his backyard because he wants to prove that aliens didn't do it. The woman who has the only hair museum in a strip mall because she wants to keep an ancient form of jewelry and genealogy alive. What about them? So,
well, I don't know. Maybe the Stonehenge guy, but the hair museum lady probably.
Hair museum is hair jewelry is
hair jewelry.
Yeah,
Glenn,
she's in Missouri, right?
She is. She's in Independence, Missouri. Her name is Leila.
Hold on. Jeffy, why the hell do you know where the hair museum is?
I mean, I may or may not have stopped in there a couple times.
What, are you selling the stuff coming out of your nose? How much for this?
That is such a troubling image. Thank you.
You should see when he braids it. But anyway.
So the hair museum, once upon a time, remembered our ancestors with their hair. And
yeah. Okay, I know what you mean.
But you would weave it into all kinds of brocades and fascinating designs and put it on the wall.
We have a ring